Have you ever wondered why some people seem untouchable? Why they move through life with a quiet confidence that commands respect without ever demanding it? It's not because they share everything. It's because they've mastered the ancient art of silence. The Stoics understood something that most people today have forgotten: that real power doesn't come from what you say, but from what you wisely choose to keep to yourself. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, wrote in his private journals that we should be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. But there's another lesson hidden in his life, one that he never explicitly stated but lived every single day. He knew when to speak and when to remain silent. He understood that some truths are meant to be guarded like treasures, not because they're shameful, but because they're sacred. Today, we live in a world that celebrates social media has convinced us that transparency equals authenticity, that sharing every detail of our lives makes us more real, more relatable, more human. But the Stoics would tell you this is a dangerous illusion. They would say that discretion is not secrecy, and that protecting certain aspects of your life is not dishonesty but wisdom. What I'm about to share with you are 7 secrets that, according to Stoic philosophy, you should guard carefully. These aren't just random pieces of advice. They're insights that, when applied correctly, will transform how people perceive you, how you perceive yourself, and ultimately, how you navigate the complexities of human relationships and personal success. The first secret you must never reveal is your next move. Epictetus, who rose from slavery to become one of the most respected philosophers in Rome, taught his students that first learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak. Noticed he didn't say, speak first, and figure it out later. He emphasized the importance of deliberation, of internal processing before external action. When you announce your plans before executing them, you invite several problems into your life. First, you open yourself up to unnecessary criticism and doubt from people who haven't earned the right to influence your decisions. Second, you create expectations that can become psychological burdens. Third, you give others the opportunity to either copy your ideas or sabotage your efforts. And fourth, you satisfy the craving for accomplishment without actually accomplishing anything, which neuroscience now confirms can reduce your motivation to follow through. Think about the last time you told everyone about your new business idea, your weight loss goal, or your plan to change careers. How did it feel in that moment? It probably felt good, didn't it? You received encouragement, excitement, maybe even admiration. But what happened to your actual motivation afterward? For many people, that premature sharing creates a false sense of achievement. Your brain releases dopamine from the social validation, essentially tricking you into feeling like you've already succeeded when you haven't even started. The Stoics practiced what they called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, which meant visualizing potential obstacles before taking action. But notice that this was an internal practice. Marcus Aurelius didn't hold public forums announcing all the potential disasters he was preparing for. He did the work internally, then acted externally. The planning was private, the execution was public. When you keep your next move to yourself, you maintain several advantages. You preserve your energy for execution rather than explanation. You avoid the negative energy of skeptics who haven't accomplished what you're attempting. You eliminate the pressure of public expectation. And most importantly, you retain the element of surprise, which in both ancient warfare and modern competition is an invaluable asset. The second secret involves your acts of generosity and kindness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." But he also understood that goodness performed for recognition isn't true virtue. It's theater. In our current age of performative activism and virtue signaling, this Stoic principle is more relevant than ever. How many times have you seen someone record themselves giving money to a homeless person, or post about their charitable donations, or broadcast their good deeds across social media? The Stoics would argue that the moment you publicize your generosity, you transform it from virtue into vanity. Seneca, who was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, wrote extensively about the proper way to give. He said, "The person who receives a benefit with gratitude repays the first installment on the debt." But he also cautioned that the giver must be careful not to humiliate the receiver or to give in a way that seeks repayment through recognition. True generosity, according to Stoic thought, benefits the giver and receiver equally, but only when it's done without expectation or announcement. When you announce your charitable acts, you accomplish several negative things simultaneously. You potentially embarrass the person you're helping by making their need public. You transform your motivation from pure kindness to social approval. You create an expectation that others should acknowledge your goodness, and you train yourself to associate helping others with external validation. which means you become less likely to help when no one is watching. The Stoics believe that virtue is its own reward. This means the satisfaction of doing the right thing should be sufficient compensation. When you give anonymously, when you help without announcing it, when you make someone's life better without taking credit, you cultivate true character. You would become the kind of person who acts according to principles rather than perception. There's a deeper wisdom here too. When you keep your generosity private, you protect yourself from those who would take advantage of your kindness. The moment people know you're generous, you become a target for manipulation. Everyone suddenly has an emergency, a cause, or a need that requires your resources. By maintaining discretion about your giving, you retain the freedom to help genuinely rather than obligatorily. The third secret is your personal problems and struggles. Epictetus taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Part of that wise reaction is understanding who deserves to hear about your challenges and who doesn't. Everyone faces difficulties. The Stoics didn't deny this. In fact, they embraced it as part of the human condition. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, plagues, betrayals, and personal tragedies. Seneca was exiled and eventually forced to commit suicide. Epictetus was born into slavery and lived with a permanent physical disability. These men understood suffering intimately, yet they exercised tremendous discretion about what they shared and with whom. In today's world, there is a dangerous trend toward treating everyone as a therapist, every platform as a confessional, and every problem as content. People share their deepest struggles with acquaintances, broadcast their trauma to strangers, and treat vulnerability as a performance. But the Stoics would warn you that this kind of indiscriminate sharing weakens you rather than strengthens you. When you reveal your personal problems carelessly, several things happen. First, you give people ammunition to use against you later. Human nature is complicated, and people who seem supportive today might become adversaries tomorrow. Second, you burden others with information they neither asked for nor are equipped to help with. Third, you risk receiving terrible advice from people who don't understand your situation. And fourth, you diminish your own power by constantly rehearsing your problems rather than solving them. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." When you constantly talk about your problems, you live them repeatedly. You create neural pathways that reinforce negative thinking patterns. You identify yourself with your struggles rather than with your capacity to overcome them. This doesn't mean you should never seek help or support. The Stoics understood the value of wise counsel. Marcus Aurelius regularly consulted with philosophers and advisors. But there's a vast difference between strategically seeking guidance from trusted, qualified individuals and broadcasting your struggles to anyone who will listen. The key is selectivity. Choose carefully who earns the privilege of knowing your struggles. These should be people who have demonstrated wisdom, discretion, and genuine care for your well-being. They should be people who will help you find solutions, rather than simply validate your suffering. And they should be people who respect confidence and won't use your vulnerability against you. The fourth secret concerns your income and financial situation. The Stoics had complex relationships with wealth. Seneca was incredibly wealthy, yet wrote that it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Marcus Aurelius had access to unlimited resources as emperor, but lived relatively simply. They understood that money is a tool, nothing more and nothing less. But they also understood that discussing it openly creates unnecessary complications. When you reveal your income, whether you're wealthy or struggling, you fundamentally change how people relate to you. If people know you have money, they begin to see you as a resource rather than a person. Friends become potential borrowers. Family members start calculating what they might inherit. Business associates wonder what they can extract from you. And strangers assume your life is easier than it actually is, discounting your real struggles and achievements. Conversely, if people know you're struggling financially, different problems emerge. Some will pity you, which damages your dignity. Others will judge you, assuming your financial situation reflects poor character or lack of ability. Some will feel superior, which poisons the relationship. And still others will avoid you, fearing you'll ask them for help. The Stoic approach is to maintain mystery about your financial situation. Live according to your means, without announcing what those means are. Be generous when appropriate, but don't feel pressured to explain why you can or cannot afford something. Judge your own financial decisions by whether they align with your values, not by whether they impress others. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. This perspective liberates you from the need to prove your financial status to anyone. Whether you're wealthy or modest in means becomes irrelevant to your core identity and relationships. The fifth secret is your family conflicts and intimate relationships. Epictetus, despite his difficult early life, rarely discussed his personal relationships in detail. He understood that the family is a sacred space that should be protected from public scrutiny. Every family has conflicts. Every intimate relationship faces challenges. This is normal, expected, and part of being human. But the modern compulsion to air these conflicts publicly, whether to friends, extended family, or social media, creates damage that can never be fully repaired. When you share family conflicts with outsiders, you invite several problems. First, you create lasting resentment because family members will remember that you shared their private moments with others. Second, you receive biased advice because the people you tell only hear your side of the story. Third, you damage the reputation of people you presumably love, which reflects poorly on your own character. And fourth, you make reconciliation harder because you've now involved others in what should be a private matter. The Stoics believed in dealing with problems at their source. If you have an issue with your spouse, speak to your spouse. If you have a conflict with your parent or sibling, address it with them directly. Bringing in third parties should be a last resort, done only with mutual consent, and preferably with trained professionals like counselors or therapists. There's also the matter of loyalty. Seneca wrote about the importance of fidelity in relationships. When you gossip about family problems, you demonstrate that you cannot be trusted with confidential information. You show that when relationships become difficult, your response is to seek validation from outsiders rather than to work through problems with the people involved. This applies equally to romantic relationships. The couples who constantly broadcast their problems, seek relationship advice from friends, or compare their partner unfavorably to others invariably struggle more than those who maintain privacy. Intimate relationships require a container of trust and confidentiality to flourish. Every time you breach that container by sharing private matters publicly, you weaken the relationship itself. The sixth secret involves your ambitious goals and dreams. This might seem similar to not revealing your next move, but it's actually different. Your next move might be a practical step, a tactical decision. Your deepest dreams and ambitions are different. They are the visions that drive you, the legacy you want to create, the person you aspire to become. Marcus Aurelius kept journals that he never intended anyone to read. His meditations, which have influenced millions, were private reflections meant only for himself. In these writings, he was completely honest about his aspirations to live virtuously, to govern wisely, to overcome his flaws. But during his life, he didn't go around announcing these ambitions. He simply worked toward them quietly. When you share your biggest dreams with the wrong people, you expose yourself to the dream killers. These are people who, consciously or unconsciously, will tell you why your dreams are unrealistic, impossible, or foolish. Sometimes they do this out of concern, fearing you'll be disappointed. Sometimes they do it out of envy, uncomfortable with your ambition because it highlights their own lack of direction. And sometimes they do it out of ignorance, unable to envision what you can see clearly. Epictetus taught his students to focus on what they could control and to accept what they couldn't. Your dreams are within your control, meaning you can work toward them regardless of external circumstances. But other people's reactions to your dreams are beyond your control. By not sharing indiscriminately, you eliminate a variable that could discourage or distract you. There's also a spiritual component to this principle. Many wisdom traditions speak of the importance of protecting your vision, of not casting pearls before swine, as one ancient teaching suggests. Your dreams are sacred. They deserve to be treated with reverence, not casually discussed with people who haven't earned the right to hear them. This doesn't mean you should never share your dreams. Mentors, trusted advisors, and true friends who support your growth are appropriate confidants. But be selective. Share with people who have demonstrated they can hold space for big visions, who won't impose their limitations on your possibilities, and who genuinely want to see you succeed. The seventh and final secret is your past mistakes and failures. With important nuance, the Stoics believed in learning from errors but not being defined by them. Seneca wrote that to err is human, acknowledging that mistakes are inevitable. But he also understood that there's a difference between learning from your past and being imprisoned by it. In contemporary culture, there's pressure to be completely transparent about past failures. While there's value in authenticity, the Stoics would caution against indiscriminate confession. Not everyone deserves to know everything you've done wrong. Not everyone can handle that information with maturity. And not everyone will forgive you even if you've forgiven yourself. When you reveal past mistakes to the wrong people, you risk several outcomes. Some will use that information against you at a future time when it serves their interests. Others will define you permanently by your worst moments, unable to see your growth and transformation. Still, others will lose respect for you, not because they're judgmental, but because the human mind naturally creates categories, and sometimes places people in those categories based on limited information. Marcus Aurelius practiced daily reflection, examining his actions and looking for areas of improvement. But this was a private practice. He held himself accountable internally to his principles, not externally to public opinion. The distinction matters profoundly. The Stoic approach is to learn from every mistake, to make amends where possible and appropriate, and then to move forward as a person committed to virtue. Your past is a teacher, not an identity. You honor your mistakes by not repeating them, not by constantly rehearsing them for others. This principle requires wisdom to apply correctly. If your past mistakes directly affect someone, honesty may be necessary. If you're seeking help for serious issues, transparency with qualified professionals is essential. If you're in a close relationship where trust requires openness, carefully considered disclosure may be appropriate. The key word is discernment. As we conclude, let's return to the fundamental Stoic principle underlying all 7 of these secrets: the distinction between what is within your control and what is not. You cannot control how people will use information about you. You cannot control whether they'll respect your confidence. You cannot control their judgments, assumptions, or reactions. But you can control what you reveal. You can control who earns your trust. You can control how you present yourself to the world. And you can control whether you live according to wisdom or according to the current. Cultures demand for total transparency. Epictetus taught that freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. By guarding these 7 secrets, by exercising discretion about what you share and with whom, you claim a profound form of freedom. You become less manipulable, less vulnerable to others' opinions, and more able to move through life according to your own principles. The ancient Stoics understood something we're only now rediscovering in an age of oversharing and constant connectivity. That mystery is not the same as dishonesty. That privacy is not the same as secrecy. And that discretion is not the same as deception. They understood that some things are meant to be shared, and some things are meant to be sacred. As you move forward from this moment, I encourage you to examine your own life through this Stoic lens. Are you sharing your plans before executing them? Are you broadcasting your generosity? Are you treating acquaintances like therapists? Are you revealing your financial situation unnecessarily? Are you airing family conflicts publicly? Are you exposing your dreams to dream killers? Are you defined by your past rather than by your present commitment to virtue? The path of the Stoic is not easy. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and the courage to stand apart from cultural trends that encourage indiscriminate sharing. But the rewards are immense. Deeper relationships with those who truly know you, greater focus on your goals, stronger personal boundaries, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are, regardless of what others know about you. Remember what Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private meditations: the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By protecting these 7 secrets, you protect the quality of your thoughts from contamination by others' judgments, assumptions, and projections. You create space for authentic self-reflection and genuine growth. In a world that increasingly values exposure over discretion, be the person who understands that true strength whispers while weakness shouts. Be the person who knows that real power doesn't need to announce itself. Be the person who lives by Stoic wisdom, keeping what is sacred, protected, and sharing only what is truly meant to be shared. The ancient philosophers have given us these principles, tested by time and proven by experience. Now it's up to you to apply them. Guard these 7 secrets wisely, and watch how your life transforms in ways both subtle and profound.